Hello friends, I'm Saket Bansal and today I am sharing some thoughts related to safe requirement hierarchy. So this particular web event is more about visualizing how the scaled Agile framework takes care of requirement hierarchy. So as usual, before I go ahead, I need to know the audience, and I have prepared 2-3 polls which will help me to know the audience. So the first poll is coming in, and first I want to know about how many of you are familiar with Agile. That is the first question I want to ask. That where do you rank yourself? You think you are master in Agile or very beginner? Okay. So if I share the result, we are somewhere distributed this time, which is putting challenge for me. Hopefully I would be able to balance it. We do have majority at a proficient level, which is good thing, but we do have distribution which is going a bit below. The masters are also there, so we will not have much issues. The second question is about SAFe. So how well you know about Scaled Agile Framework? Have you heard about it or attended my previous web event where I introduced Scaled Agile Framework to the audience, or been through the scaledagileFramework.com, looked at big picture? So I'm closing the poll and sharing the result. So we do have a good Agile knowledge in the session, but when it comes to safe awareness, it's very little in this audience base. So I would be taking care of it when I talk about the requirement hierarchy, or when I introduce SAFe. Okay, few more questions before I start speaking. I want to know your project role. So what do you do? Like, you work as a project leader / Scrum Master, manager, developer, in PMO, governance, tester, QA. So where are you? So this is a fairly concentrated population, which is more towards project management and project leaders, which is good. So you also know your fellow participants. So majority of participants are project leaders or project manager who are attending here. Final question. So this is the fourth and final questions. Which certification are you targeting in next 2 months? So this will help me to visualize when you ask queries that, okay, where it is going. Quickly pick up. This is the final one, and then we will start the session. So we do have majority towards pmi-acp, then CSP, then few towards Safe Agilist, and few are moving towards others. Good. So this gives me a good idea. This gives me a good idea about my audience base, and hopefully we would be able to cater to this diversified audience well. So back to our session. Now we are talking about webinar on safe requirement hierarchy. So before I get into the details of requirement hierarchy, let's talk about requirement again. Some of you might have attended my last week web event, which was again on requirement. So requirement is something, a condition or a capability that is required to be present in product, service, or result which we produce, which is imposed sometime formally by some contract or some statement of work. So this is how the PMBOK defines it, but we can understand requirement by that we meet requirement by producing product or service. It addresses the need of the business. It addresses the need of the stakeholders. It is finally implemented by adding some features, some solution details, features in our product or services. So when we are making a wall, we may have a requirement of that I want to have a clear demarcation of this particular land. So that was the requirement. Now that requirement is getting met by creating a wall for that demarcation. Now the wall can be conducted in multiple ways. So we talk about that we want to conduct this particular wall using bricks, using stones. So that is the final implementation of the need which I had, which triggered this particular project. So we need this requirement by implementing some set of features in the product or service which we deliver to the end customer or end user. When we look at the requirements, in requirement management, requirement hierarchy starts from business requirement, then it comes to stakeholder requirements, and then finally the solution requirements. So business requirement is all about that I need a demarcation of my land. So I need to see that this part is A, this part is B. Now the stakeholder will talk about that the wall should be long enough so it can hide the details from one area to another area. Somebody may talk about that it should be maintainable. So if I want to clean it, I should be able to clean the wall using water. So those kind of stakeholder requirements may come related to constructing this particular wall. And then finally you come up with a solution that, okay, there will be a wall which would be of this much length, which would be having white stones and will get constructed using this kind of material, and it will take, this is how it will look like, and these all features it would be providing. So this is how the need hierarchy starts. We talk about business requirements, then we have an interaction with the stakeholders, and finally we come up with a solution requirements. Now this particular webinar is about how this hierarchy is getting implemented in Scaled Agile framework. So that is the topic of this particular session. Now, before I talk about how it is getting implemented, I need to introduce a bit about Scaled Agile framework. So Scaled Agile framework is a proven public-facing framework for applying lean and agile practices at enterprise level. So many of you are already aware of Agile. So Agile is doing great. So it is adding good value to the organizations, and it is able to deliver a product at a faster pace. The organizations are able to deliver a product to the market using Agile. But organizations start thinking of that how can we use this Agile at an enterprise level? How can we scale it up? How can we utilize the benefit which we are getting from Agile to an overall organization? So there are two dimensions of scaling. One is that we limit the Agile team size by say 7 to 9 people. How can we have Agile teams of 100 people? So that's the one dimension of scaling. The another dimension of scaling is how can we integrate the strategy, portfolio, decision till execution. So how can we make portfolio Agile? How can we make product management Agile? So it's not only about development team, but how we can take it till our strategic thinking. So the Scaled Agile framework takes care of these two dimensions, and it gives a way using which we can have horizontal and vertical scaling. It does it by providing 3 levels. It talks about that we have a team level, then program level, and portfolio level. So team level is something which is like normal Agile teams, where 7 to 9 people working on their user story backlogs or story backlogs and delivering working software in a sprints. Then we have a program layer. Program layer is primarily focusing on integrating, coordinating, managing interdependencies, giving direction to all these teams which are working in an interdependent environment. So these teams are not independent, means their output is not directly going to the end customer. It has to be integrated with other teams. That's why we need a program layer which helps us in achieving in that system level, project management level, release level, requirement level integration. So the SAFe has the second layer, which is a program layer. Then finally we have a portfolio layer, which is the top layer where we decide that this particular functionality, which particular feature we should be developing in upcoming project. So this is how this Scaled Agile framework works like, where we have these 3 layers, and we can see how we can do the work in alignment. Now when we have this kind of structure, how requirement get managed? How do we align? How do we drive requirement which is visualized at a portfolio level, at a top level, and the work which is done at the team level? So the requirement hierarchy in Scaled Agile framework is managed by having artifacts like epic, features, and stories. So the epic is something which is a big initiative, which is an area where portfolio team is working on. So they think big initiatives which will require big amount of effort, which will be having a business case. Epic represents the business requirements and it is owned by the business owners. Now these epics get further elaborated by features. Now these features get implemented using programs. The second layer is the one which coordinates this feature, and this feature represents the solution requirement. These features are managed by middle level product management or content management group, which is called product management. And at the end, we decompose these features into stories, and these stories represent the detailed specification of the solution, and they are maintained in team backlog by the product owner of the respective team. So team never works directly on feature, team never works directly on epic, team will always be working on stories. Now these stories help in implementing features. The program management group, the middle layer, would be visualizing, prioritizing features. These features helps us in implementing the business initiative, the business level requirement, the business level need, which is elaborated in epic. So in short, the SAFe requirement hierarchy is epic, feature, story. The epic represents the problem domain, the need of the business. The features and stories represent the solution domain. The feature are not that elaborative, but the stories are very detailed solution level requirements. So this diagram is coming from the Agile Software Requirement, the book which is written by Dean, and Dean is the one who is the man behind the Scaled Agile framework. So his books gives a good idea about how the requirement hierarchy is managed in SAFe. Now, before I go forward, I usually get a lot of interaction through Q&As rather than just running the slides. So I am open to take questions which are primarily focusing on that. Okay, we got a fair idea of SAFe, and we understand that these are the artifacts which helps us in implementing what we want to do at team level. So you can post your queries, and I am just putting a poll so that by the time you are thinking of queries, we can have discussion. Okay, so it's just a poll where I am asking which of the following is expected to take maximum effort. So which one is the biggest out of these three? Like that is the intent. So what is big? And by the time you are putting votes here, let me see what are the questions here. So, so the question came is that where is theme placed in hierarchy? In case of SAFe requirement hierarchy, we do have investment themes, which are strategic themes which are on top of epics. So theme is the one which represent the large strategic direction, and on the basis of theme we create epics. So themes, rather than just using themes, we talk about investment theme or strategic themes, and they are ahead of epics. Now this is how the SAFe artifacts work. We should not be relating it the general definition of theme, where we talk about that themes is collection of user stories, the way we look into generic pmi-acp related content. Okay, so there are interesting question. Is the SAFe framework primarily meant for distributed team? So it's not necessary the team has to be distributed. It could be co-located also, but in practice, in reality, whenever you have a big scaled team, you end up having multiple team and also distributed team. So scaling is when you go beyond one team, when you have a teams of agile teams which has to coordinate with each other. They have interdependencies and they would be delivering things together. Now these teams could be co-located, could be working from different geography. So it works in both the cases. Second question came is that I'm working on ERP supply chain using Oracle, SAP, etc. Does this thing make sense in that particular domain? Now, how SAFe defines it, that you need to define a value stream. So in case of say ERP implementation, so if I am an SAP and Oracle implementation company, I may have a one value stream which is SAP implementation. Now in this particular value stream, I may be having 100 people working on it. So this will become one group. Now these 100 people are interdependent, like there are things which get managed in collaboration with these 100 people, and finally you deliver to your end customer. A new order comes in that may work as an epic, that okay, I want to implement SAP in my organization. That is my epic, and then I will be breaking into features that okay, what all has to be done in your implementation, and these features may get implemented by different team. One team may be looking at finance in SAP area, other team might be looking at human resource, third team might be looking at inventory, and finally you combine everything and deliver it to the end customer. So in that way, you can visualize that this is how the SAFe work. You can check out the case studies available at scaledagileparamework.com, and they have good references for the area or domains you are talking about. So there are few questions. So as I understand, Scrum is limited to team, and the scaled agile is an organization level. You can think of now it would be controversial because Scrum has a way to scale up, and in Scrum Alliance now there is a good initiative which talks about Scrum at scale. So yeah, so you can even have a look at that. So it would be unwise to say that Scrum is only for team, but yeah, this is one of the framework which helps us in getting enterprise level agility. So another interesting question. So if we create 3 layers, does it become as a barrier for communication, where people who are working at the team level may not be even able to visualize what is happening at a portfolio level? So this is the beauty of this particular framework, and this is the problem it is showing solving. The SAFe has a core value which talks about transparency and alignment. So the goal here is that how do we align the portfolio level vision, thinking, and big initiative till team level. So they have put a complete structure in place by way of portfolio backlog, program backlog, and team backlog, which ensures this alignment. And in a scale agile framework, we have a lot of metrics as which ensures that there is a transparency throughout the process. So at a portfolio level also, I should have a feeling what is getting implemented by the team. Now, when to use SAFe? When you have a big agile implementation, when you want 100+ people working on one particular product or one particular value stream, you should think of having a program layer. Once you are done with having program layer, you should think of how do I align portfolio level decision making till my team level working. So it's a framework which gives you a approach which helps you to align the investment decisions, the investment prioritizations done at a portfolio level, and the execution which is done at the team level. So we do have one of our previous web event where we spoke about Scaled Agile Framework. So please check the recording of it. So now finally I'm moving and closing the post. We do got the right answer. So Epic was the #1 winner. But yeah, many selected stories. So that the idea of this particular poll was which one is the biggest initiative. So the big initiative is Epic. One Epic is big. Story is small. So now let's get into the details of Epic. What is these Epic features are all about? So how we define Epic is that business epics are large customer facing initiative. They are intended to deliver new product, solution, or service to the marketplace. So when I was giving an SAP example, it is like I need another SAP solution for a given customer. So it is the same 100 people team is serving multiple SAP related value stream. One customer solution comes in, they build the solution and delivers it. So it's like large initiative. If we take an example of a website, I want to make my website social media enabled. A big initiative. I want to have a phone app for my website. So these are epic. So you are working on a phone app which would be providing most of your website features on mobile phone is a big market initiative which you might be only approving when you have a proper business case for it. So they are big. Features. These are services provided by the system that will fulfill one or more stakeholders' need. So if I have a need of a phone app, the features like I can log in using say Google account, I can work in online offline mode. They are stakeholder needs. They are defining the solution, how the solution will take care of one or more the stakeholder needs. And stories. A user story is a brief statement of intent that describes something that system need to do for the user. It's like slice of it. So when I'm talking about authentication, that I can authenticate user Google account, so it could be talking about that you can try 3 attempt with wrong password, or after password you should ask for captcha, or it should be that you should have a forget password link. So these all things are small user stories. A particular feature get implemented by small system level requirements which will help user to achieve that particular business functionality. So we do have very nice representation of safe backlog model. This again I am taking from scaledagileFramework.com/stories, and this gives a very nice interpretation that how these things get done at a safe level. So I hope you can see this. Okay, so this is something like we can start with epic. So this is an epic which is either a portfolio epic or a program epic. So they are big initiatives. They could have been identified at a program level or could be coming from portfolio. And these big initiatives could be business epics. So they represent the business initiative, or it could be an architectural epic. And they would be having success criteria. Now these epics get realized by features. So the feature would be realizing and like multiple features would be realizing and give an epic. And these features could be business feature or an architectural feature. And these features will have feature acceptance tests. Now the epics and feature both are part of the backlog item. Epic is a part of portfolio backlog. So epic represent a portfolio backlog item, whereas feature represents the program backlog item. Now these features get implemented, realized by stories. Now story in case of a safe context could be a user story or any other work item. So story and user story is not the same thing in case of safe. So team backlog is a collection of stories where the items which are primarily focusing towards user need is a user story, but there could be some non-user need related items, could be technical, could be some other type of work are also there. And for a clarity, for a sake of hierarchy, we also term them as stories, and they get done when they pass acceptance test or unit tests. And finally, these backlog items are constrained by non-functional requirements, like you may be having security related, you may be having performance related, you may be having globalization related, some constraints that each of these should be passing through before they get implemented in product. So it's like epic moving to the features and feature moving to the stories, and finally the team is working here. They are working here and delivering working software per sprint. So this URL is available to you. You can just have a look and identify what is this particular model is all about. So if we summarize it in an example manner, so epic, big initiative, large impact, having business case. Now, in case of safe hierarchy, epics will usually have lightweight business case. So what is business case? Business case represents the logic or a justification of implementing this particular epic or taking this particular epic at this point in time. So what I get if I implement the phone app, what I get if I make my website social media friendly or social media enabled. So I should be having some business case which justifies it. So epic will have a budget as well as a business case. Features is the generic term which is usually understood by the customers, marketing teams. It has been there in industry for long. So it is something like the top level user or a marketer can understand. They are at a detail of a solution, but not that much detail which is only meant for the developers or a team. So users should be like, if I take an example of this particular case that I took an epic that we want to make our website social media friendly. The feature could be that user should be able to share his activities on social media or on Facebook. So like whatever I do on website, I comment, I like, etc., or I watch some profile or I upload a file, I should be able to share it on social media. So that is a feature which I need. The story which we would be writing in order to implement this particular feature is that as a user, I want to share my latest comment on the Facebook. So if it's a discussion board, if the website is all about having conversation, so I made some comment, and as I made my comment, I want to have a feature which helps me to share this particular thing on my Facebook account. So when it comes to a small, fit for development, more or less independent, a kind of a requirement which can be discussed and tested is a user story. So epics will not be testable. Epics will have a success criteria that do we have a social media friendly website. So you can define a success criteria that when can I say that this particular thing is social media friendly, but it won't be having a detailed test cases which will be saying that this is friendly or not friendly. Features and user stories will have proper testability. So we can check that a feature will have a detailed acceptance criteria or acceptance test, which helps us to validate that yes, this particular feature is implemented or not implemented. And user story on the same line will have acceptance criteria and unit test cases, which will help us to know that is it implemented or not implemented. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk before I get into other details. This is more about our companies and what we do. So we do all these kind of trainings and we do conduct safe agilist programs. But I would be interested if you have queries related to this particular hierarchy, and then I can drive the discussion in that particular direction. So I have kept some time, good time for this Q&A, and as usual I would be putting one poll so that it sets some pace. Okay, so team develop solution by implementing what? Like what if I am a developer of a given team, at a given particular instance, I would be worried about story, feature or epic. I would be saying that, okay, today I am working on this particular epic and I would be finishing it by next month. Or I would be saying that I am working on this particular story and I will be finishing by tomorrow. So that is the question. We got good majority picking up one option, and I presume if the majority has picked up that option, it would be the right option. Yes, so we have majority picking up user stories, and which is the right answer. So before I talk about our programs and all, let's have the Q&A discussion and see what we have. We have interesting questions lined up as usual. So now Lalit is asking that, okay, we in my complete explanation I was talking about epics at a portfolio levels and feature at a program level. So from where this program epic came in? So true, portfolio epics are the main epics, but sometimes what happens, so program epic is a special case. So at a program level, when the product management group is working on program, they may find that there is something needs to be implemented. So it's not like that their hands are always tightened by the portfolio epics. They are free to think about it. But since it is a big initiative, they can't push it into development. So program epics are again a big initiative, but such kind of initiative needs to be discussed with the portfolio team before they can be taken forward. Now this may also trigger something that can a program team identify a feature which is not coming from a portfolio epic? The answer is yes. So it's not like that the features can only be created by decomposing epic. At a program level also, you may end up identifying some features which add value to the solution, which is not directly coming from epics or a portfolio level epics. But when we have some initiatives which are big, so we should be involving portfolio. We should be checking the lightweight business case before we take it forward. Now we have a second question. So can we talk about the difference between story and user story? So this is a specific case. We use term story for anything which is there in team backlog. So whatever team is working on is an instance of story. So team backlog consists of user stories and other work items. Other work items could be technical work, refactoring work, any work item which team has to work on in order to achieve the program level objectives. So user stories are a specific artifact which has to be written from a user valued perspective, which should add value to the end user, but team might be working on some work which may not be directly adding value to the end user. So story is a term which we use is in a generic way, whereas we use user story when we talk about a specific slice of requirement, slice of functionality, small slice of functionality which add value to the business user. Okay, so now it's an interesting question. So question is that if 100 people are working on an SAP project, and I can create 10 Scrum teams with 10 Scrum of Scrum teams at a program level and one Scrum of Scrum team of a Scrum group level or a portfolio level, why I need SAFe now? So this is like you are implementing one of your framework, and if this framework is working for you, it is great. So this is one of the way of scaling Scrum or Agile, and if it is working for you, it's good. Now how the same concept, more or less, that having Scrum of Scrums. So Scrum of Scrum is also available in SAFe. It is recommended to be like a ceremony, which at least we should be doing once in a week. That is how the teams have been doing, and they would be doing few more things which helps them bringing an alignment. So SAFe has introduced some more roles like release train engineers, product management, who works at a program layer only. So you can think of release train engineer is more or less like a chief Scrum master. So it's just a framework. You may have multiple ways of implementing scaling, and if your current scaling framework, whatever you have defined, is working for you, it's good. You don't have to. Okay, so another questions that can we talk about the difference between acceptance test cases at a feature level and acceptance test cases at the story level. So it is more about how the big feature will get tested and how the small story will get tested. So when I talk about the same example, if I take, if I am talking about a user story level acceptance case, in my particular example, I want to share my activities on Facebook. So I want to share my last update on Facebook. So last update would be focusing on that slice only, and my particular feature would be talking about detailed acceptance test, which might be covering multiple user stories. So these user story level acceptance test cases will get demonstrated to a product owner during your working product demonstration during sprint reviews, whereas feature level acceptance test cases will get demonstrated to a program level or a product management level group once that particular feature is complete, or it would be showing the progress of that particular feature. They would not be talking about the detailed small steps. So it's more like that, how do we test a small work and how do we test a big work? So that is how we can and think of. Somebody spoke about like work breakdown structure in the question, that how it is different from a work breakdown structure. So you can think of it's more like a feature breakdown structure. So that is how we visualize the work. Usually when we use the term work breakdown structure, it is more to do with we decompose the work in a phases. Like I would be doing analysis, design, development, and that is how I would be decomposing work. That is usually the work breakdown structures are looked at. But this is more like a feature breakdown structure. So you talk about top level need, then you talk about solution level need, and then you talk about detailed work packages on which people would be working on. So it's a way of decomposing work, and that is how it can be visualized. So now the follow-up question came in case of a work breakdown structure is that at what level work breakdown structure is created. Now if you talk about traditional work breakdown structure where we decompose the tasks or activities, it is done at a story level, and Jimmy has pointed out a good point that it is a disaggregation rather than decomposition. So what is the difference between disaggregation and decomposition is, when we talk about decomposition, the decomposed material may not add directly value, but the disaggregation is that we are disaggregating the big requirement to a small requirements. Even the small requirement will add value. So task level work creation or task level activity creations are done beyond stories. So when the team does the sprint planning, the way we do in Scrum, they decompose the work into small slices or tasks. Another interesting question. So from a Scrum point of view, it's a product owner who grooms the product backlog, which may have epics too. In this case, the PO who does this kind of thing. So here we have, since it's a scaled layer, you have 3 levels of content management. So there are business owners who are working on portfolio epics. The portfolio backlog is an aggregation is a collection of those portfolio epics. There is a product management group who looks at features. So they would be refining features at a program level. Then we have a team level where we do have a role called product owner, who is more like a business analyst who is working with the team on day in, day out. He is the one who is getting those things implemented by the team, and he is primarily working on grooming or refining that particular team backlog. So team backlog is a collection of user stories. So the backlog refinement work is you can think of that it has been done at 3 layers rather than done at one point and by the one authority. Now, how do we ensure alignment? So there are various ceremonies where we talk about that the product management group should be interacting with the product owners who are working at a team level. So the way we do Scrum of Scrum, we can also have a Scrum of Scrum of product owners, which is usually known as a Meta Scrum. So you might be doing Meta Scrum in order to ensure that particular alignment. Okay, so finally, talking about interesting question. So who is the ideal candidate for the SAFe exam? So SAFe, how this framework works is that they have the content, they represent a template. So again, it's just a template. You can customize it when you start implementing it. None of the framework will recommend that you need to follow A, B, C, D. It provides you a template, a framework, and then you need to put your context in it and find out the right solution for you. So this particular framework, they do have a lot of certifications attached to it. They talk about a practitioner level certificate, leading certificate, and a consultant level certificate. So most of you, since you are project leader and project managers, you would be finding the SAFe Agilist, which is a leading SAFe certification, more appropriate for you. Now Yogesh is asking very difficult question. which I was thinking nobody will ask, and I will just pass this webinar without getting into that discussion because it is more about estimation. So now it is like how we do estimation or a story a sizing at all these three levels. So first thing, just to summarize it, it could be a bigger discussion. We do use story points, and we do need to have a way of estimating epics, features, as well as the user stories. User story level estimation is done, and more or less is done in the same way as we do in our normal agile implementation, where we play planning poker. The feature level and epic level estimation can be done in three ways. Now, when you are just starting the project, you may just compare one epic against another epic, one feature against another feature, and you size it. So you may talk about t-shirt level sizing and represent a one particular set with a set of with a given number. Once you have a historical data, so for example, I had a feature 1 and I have given that particular feature 1000 points. Now this feature 1 got decomposed into user stories. From a historical data, I know that feature 1 finally got converted into 1200 story points. Now going forward, if I have a feature 2 which is same like feature 1, I would be giving 1200 story points to it. So we start with first a rough preliminary level estimate, which is more like a relative. After that we talk about refined estimate, which is coming from historical database, and finally we have when the feature get divided into user stories and we get the real story points, you have more you have a final estimate of a feature or epic. So we still use story points, but there are some things which which are a bit controversial in case of normal agile implementation, because SAFe does recommend that we should have a normalization of story points. So we can't just think of that team A means story point 1 means something else, team B means story point 1 means something else, because it is more like an aggregation. It's not necessary that one feature will be done by one team. There could be a multiple team who would be working on that particular feature. So the SAFe does recommend that we need to have a normalized way of estimating these content work. The question is that when we talk about sizing the story points, does it not taken care by the business case when the project is started by etc. etc. Now first thing is that business case is not at a project level here. We don't have project as an entity in case of Scaled Agile framework. We talk about epics. So yes, you do have sizing done at an epic level, and business case is prepared as an epic level. How do we do a sizing at an epic level? The same approach. If you don't have an historical data, then you just calibrate. You use the relative sizing from one epic with another epic. If you have historical data, then you know that okay, the epic which we have implemented before ended up into these much story points once it reached to the team, and that is how we can have a calibration for the new coming epics. Finally, the final size of epic would be coming once we have the final decomposed user stories. So that level of error will always be there. It's always there in any way of estimation. We keep talking about cone of uncertainty. So you can talk about that at a business case level or an epic level. You have a rough order of magnitude estimate. Then you have at a feature level you may have more budgetary level estimate, and at a story level you have more definitive estimates. So this is how you can visualize that estimates get refined as we get deeper. So it's like progressive elaboration, which we keep talking in project management. So if we don't have an historical data, we will have a higher errors initially. So simple. So there's no magical formula which can help us in estimating. Only once we have historical data, our estimations will improve. Till that time, the error would be higher. And to start with, we can think of ideal days equal to story points. We can think of that how many man days work it is, and we can start with that particular number. So we can start with rough ideal days estimate, and that is how we can forward. And estimation remains always like judgment based. If you say don't have any idea and you are starting a new project, then some experts can play a planning poker at business epics level, and they can assign points. They can have a discussions, and they can size the business initiative. And usually when we do a project level estimation, even in normal projects, the expert judgment is the one which is played initially, or analogous judgment is the place initially, and finally it get refined. Okay, so I think we are approaching our time box. So few final questions. I think Narendra, your questions got answered hopefully by the previous discussions. If not, then please refine and write it again. Okay, so what is the role of a project manager in SAFe? So project manager should become a release train engineer or a program management. That is the role. We don't have a project like an entity, but yeah, there is a term called release. There is a role called release train engineer. So project manager may want to become a release train engineer, and if the project manager wants to get into content direction, he may want to become product manager. Product management group is the another direction which one can do. So SAFe does has core values. So it talks about transparency, alignment, program execution, and code quality. So there are 4 core values of SAFe, and they do follow all agile values and principles. And you can read about, so the question was that do we have values in SAFe also? So yes, we do have values in SAFe, and they are more about program execution, alignment from top to bottom and horizontally, code quality, because nothing great can be done till the time you have a good product, and transparency is the final value. So we do have a matrices which are primarily focused on business values. So for example, at a program level, we talk about release predictability index or release predictability metrics, which talks about that in a given duration, how much business value we have delivered, or how much percentage of business value we have delivered, which we have planned for. So there is a way of planning for those business values. We do some ceremonies called release planning, and then at the end of that release cycle or a program increment cycle, we do look at what percentage of value has been delivered out of it. So and do the traditional Scrum and Agile matrices or measurement remains there. In case you want to know more about it, just visit the scaledagileFramework.com, and there is an area where you can click and get the details about it. I think I will close with a brief introduction of this particular website, because this will help you to do a continuous learning. And if you want to know more about SAFe requirement related area, you might be interested in reading the book by Dean, which is Agile Software Requirements. So this book will give you a complete insight about how the requirements are visualized in case of SAFe environment. So we would be visiting this scaledagileFramework.com for a while, and we do conduct SAFe Agilist trainings. So in case you are located at Pune, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, you can check our schedule. And we do other certification as well. So just since we are closing, I am sharing my contact details also. So many of you are already connected with us, but those who are attending this particular session first time may visit forum.izenbridge.com to get an idea of various certification related discussion we do. It has good open free resources, and we do have a YouTube channel which you can subscribe to and get feed of. We have more than 100 videos talking about Agile and project management. So let's go to the Scale Agile framework, and let me show you how you can use this particular resource to continue your curiosity related to SAFe. So this is something called Big Picture, which will give you the detail of this particular framework. You can see, so scaleagileframework.com, you can see these layers, portfolio layer, program layer, and team layer. So for example, we have been talking about business epics. So this is a business epic here. If you click on business epic, it will open another article which would be having great detail about a business epic. So it will talk about how the success criteria could be written, how the lightweight business case can be made. If you click on this particular area, you can even download the template of writing a lightweight business case. So this is a resource this is a big picture, which is an interactive big picture. Wherever you click, you get the information. So epic owners, like you click here, you get the details about the epic owners. Who are these epic owners? Who owns the business? They are primarily the business and architectural driven. They will talk about what is their role, how it works, etc., etc. So this resource you can utilize, and it would be useful for your upcoming preparation. So this is what I have planned for. Thanks for joining in.